Baseball is back. Major League Baseball finally swallows their pride. But did they stop their greed? Baseball is back, and I am still angry. I am still frustrated that baseball is back in this form and fashion. I'm going to break it down for you as simple as I can, as simply as possible, I should say, as far as how this deal got done and why this deal got done after a long, bitter, pathetic negotiation between MLB and MLBPA. You could say Manfred versus versus MLBPA. It's well known that I'm not a big fan of baseball commissioner Rob Manfred. I think he is out of touch. I think he is in over his head in terms of what he wants to do for Major League Baseball. What should be done for Major League Baseball and what Rob Manfred wants to do for Major League Baseball are two very, very different things. If you talk to the majority of hardcore baseball fans, they would tell you that baseball, the game itself, doesn't need all these crazy rule changes. It just needs something to make it a little bit quicker, a little bit more entertaining for new fans to appreciate and enjoy the sport. But along the way, what makes baseball so different in comparison to other sports is the simple fact that baseball has strategy involved in it that football does not have, that basketball does not have. Baseball is a mental game, as much of a mental game as any. One manager finding out righty versus lefty, lefty versus righty, statistics, probability. There are a lot of different things that are added into the equation that is baseball. And some people understand that. Some people don't want to understand that. And of course, some people love it like myself. I will always be a baseball fan. I'll never stop watching baseball. It's in my blood. It's in my DNA. It is what it is. I can't just take it out of my system. It's there. It'll always be there. And it's something that I'll always appreciate. But after a long negotiation, baseball will begin April 7th. And one of the dynamics to this new deal, as I break it down in simple terms, is something that I think makes baseball look so greedy, makes baseball look so in over their head, and it is simple. Very, very simple. And it is the fact that tradition in baseball is dying, which tradition in baseball is what makes baseball far more special as America's pastime in comparison to any other sport. Changing uniforms is something that I am adamantly against. It is well known to the majority of the people that watch my show. I am not a New York Yankees fan. I hate the New York Yankees. I hate everything they represent. Money, greed, power. I like the underdog. I wouldn't be a Buffalo Bills fan if I didn't like the underdog. I wouldn't be a Boston Red Sox fan for the first 13 years of my life, knowing that they had an 86-year World Series drought. I wanted to see and envision them break the drought of the World Series championship. And fortunately, I got to see it not once, not twice, not 3 times, 4 times. I saw 4 World Series in Red Sox history so far, whereas my grandfather, who passed away in 2008, saw 2. That just goes to show you how special baseball is and how crazy history can be on the swivel of baseball. So changing uniforms, tradition, the New York Yankees, going back to my hatred for the Yankees, I bring you that point. The one thing the Yankees have is tradition. And that is something that, as I mentioned, makes baseball more powerful, more sentimental than any other sport, more romantic, I guess you could say, too, than any other sport. The Yankees have the patented pinstripes. It's the best uniform in baseball. It's the most traditional uniform in baseball. It is the uniform that players dream of wearing, whether you love to hate them or you love to love them. The Yankees are the Yankees. They have the tradition on their side. But something that I think is wrong in baseball, that we have seen in NBA, that we have seen in other sports, is advertisements on uniforms. Whether it's Bumble, whether it's crypto, whether it's all these different companies that have advertisements on NBA jerseys or soccer jerseys. Putting an advertisement on a Yankees jersey, I think, is just flat out wrong. Putting an advertisement on a Red Sox jersey is flat out wrong. Putting an advertisement on any jersey that is within Major League Baseball is just flat out wrong. It's terrible. And it's terrible because it shows the greed of baseball. The problems with baseball are obvious to me, not to most. Because I think most people nowadays have tuned themselves out to baseball since the steroid era. Steroids are gone. The testing is immaculate. These players are not popping for steroids anymore. Steroids are far more, traceable now than what they were even in 2005, 2006. The testing wasn't as good as it is now. You'd be a moron in today's Major League Baseball to take anything and think that you won't get caught. The testing in baseball is just as good as any other sport, if not better than any other sport. So steroids aren't the issue anymore. So we'll stiff arm that. Any talk back of steroids, that's not the issue anymore. What is the issue with baseball is simply put greed. Players are making too much money. Owners want to make more money. The players want to make more money. Everyone wants to make more money. TV deals are not as easily signable as they once were. And the game is struggling. And the game is struggling because the commissioner in charge, the man in charge, is more willing to appease the new fans while dumbing down the old fan, the hardcore fan. Losing your hardcore fan in the process is the worst thing baseball could do to itself. The worst thing. Because if you do that, you are essentially putting the fourth or fifth nail in your own coffin. And this negotiation, while I am thrilled that I will have a chance in 2 weeks to get back what's mine, my fantasy baseball title, I am frustrated to the max that this league has found a way to change itself time and time and time again in a form and fashion that takes away the tradition of the game, shows the greed of today's current game, and completely spits in the face of every hardcore fan, myself included, father's generation, grandfather's generation. This new generation of baseball just simply does not want to take the time to understand the game based on this new generation. Back on. Sorry about that. So I think when I look at just the simple fact that this is a situation in the game that I don't see getting any better, I don't see it getting any resolution. Because at the end of the day, when two parties are undecided into a deal, whether it's Manfred versus the MLBPA, they compromised. That's all it was just a compromise, to where it's a temporary compromise because the players want to play and the players want to make their money. And they weren't going to be able to do that if they just kept fighting. So the Players Association, Tony Clark, just said, screw it. This is good enough. We don't want to not play. We want the players to make the money. The owners want to make money. We want fans in the ballparks again. It's been 3 years since we've seen fans in the stands. Without that, we're really not America. We're really not North America, I should say. Got to include Toronto. So it's a very tough thing for me. I'm thrilled that baseball is back. I'm happy about it, but I'm still angry because I think this issue was not resolved. It was just put on pause, and I fear that we could see this issue arise once again next season or at some point in the years to come. So there you have it. That's my take on Major League Baseball's return. April 7th, I'm going to a ton of games this summer. I'm going to seek to it that I find myself at Fenway Park in the summer of 2022. Ryan Thomas's 30th year will not go without it. Take care, everybody. Baseball's back, but I'm still angry.